joining us now. U.S. Navy JAG officer, federal U.S. prosecutor, and candidate for U.S. Senate in the great state of North Carolina, Don Brown, back on the program. Don, if folks don't know what JAG stands for, Judge Advocate General, fill them in what JAG does in the Navy, since you were a Navy officer and Mark was a Navy officer.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks for having me. JAG officers in the Navy are the legal arm of the Navy. We're involved in prosecution in courts martial and sometimes defending as well and various other matters. This is clearly a situation that Secretary Hedgeseth is right because Mark Kelly is a retired Navy captain, and the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is the legal code for the United States military, passed by the Congress and signed by President Eisenhower in 1950, allows retirees who are being paid, not every veteran, but a retiree who is being paid or eligible for pay, to be recalled if there's a violation of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And as a JAG officer, I would hope that I'll be involved in that prosecution. I think Secretary Hedgeseth is giving the correct order to the Navy, and it'll be interesting to see how it follows out. But you just can't have this sort of thing going on. It's very dangerous. This is undermining good order and discipline. It's contempt toward the commander-in-chief. It is seditionary conduct, if you ask me, and I think there are a number of charges that could be brought into the UCMJ, and I'm looking forward to following how this plays out in the next few days.
So, Don, let me ask you. You're telling me if you were on active duty right now and you heard a guy that was former military still being paid so they can be court-martialed, like you said, by the UCMJ laws, would you be an officer of the court saying, yes, we need to charge him because of that video? Because a lot of people are saying, hey, listen to the language. He said, don't obey unlawful orders. Well, we all know that we shouldn't obey an unlawful order. And I make the suggestion that if I'm standing there as an E4 when I got out and my colonel in the Air Force would say, hey, Ball, see that woman standing on the street corner over there? Shoot her. I would go, no, and disobey. But what these guys are doing is like somebody running into a theater and screaming fire, fire, fire when there is none. Why would they do this? And I'm going to quote, because I brought it up and I know you know it by heart. Primary crime, this is 18 USC 2387, advising, counseling, urging, or in any manner causing or attempting to cause insubordination, disloyalty, mutiny, or refusal of duty by a member of the military or any force of the United States, or distributing any material, like a video, with intent to cause mutiny or disloyalty. There it is, Mr. Kelly. You just did that. You violated the UCMJ, didn't he?
He did, in my opinion. Article 94 prohibits sedition. That prohibits members of the military or retirees from undermining civilian control of the military, which is given to the President of the United States under Article 2 of our Constitution. But look, this is not a situation where Mark Kelly is giving some lecture on general principles of law that you don't have to obey to follow an unlawful order. No, this is within a specific context. It is aimed at United States forces within the context of the president's attempt to stop smuggling on the high seas of dangerous weapons of mass destruction in the forms of fentanyl and other drugs. It is part of the administration's war against the war on America. We lost more Americans to fentanyl coming across the border in 1 year than in 10 years of the Vietnam War. And by the way, if you want to put this into more historical context, presidents in infinitum, from Thomas Jefferson, who ordered the Navy and Marine Corps to take action in the Barbary Wars in the Mediterranean, to Abraham Lincoln, who ordered seizure of the RMS Trent, a British mail ship that had a Confederate sympathizer, to Franklin Roosevelt, who gave shoot to kill orders to the United States Navy in early 1941 while we were escorting convoys across the Atlantic before Pearl Harbor was bombed, to Ronald Reagan, who sent Americans into Grenada to save students, to George H.W. Bush, who sent troops into Panama because of drug trafficking and other matters, to Bill Clinton, who blockaded Grenada. This is within the constitutional authority of the commander-in-chief. These comments made are not made in some sort of antiseptic classroom to discuss what is legal and illegal.
These are our leaders.
Right.
They're sitting members of the United States Senate, and besides the other ones that are intelligence officers, this is a former decorated military officer who should know better. I got about a minute or two left. I want two things from you, Don. One, what can this lead to, right? And you and I discussed it before you came on, but talk to them about what we were saying. What happens when you've got some young troop who already had liberal ideology, and then they see this video and they decide to disobey? What are the two things that could happen to them and their surrounding fellow service members?
Well, certainly any member of the armed forces who takes Kelly's advice in this context and refuses to act in the war against these deathly boats could be prosecuted also for insubordination, for failure to obey a lawful order on Article 82, for a violation of Article 94, for sedition. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So any young members of the United States military, I would say, disregard what these idiot Democrats are doing. They're trying to put division within the troops. Yep. As far as Kelly, he needs to be called back up. There needs to be an Article 32 investigation. He needs to face a general court-martial under various violations of the UCMJ, including sedition, including contempt against the commander-in-chief, including the general article for undermining good order and discipline. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he should be punished for it. I hope Pete Hegseth will stick with this, and we'll see a general court-martial in the not-too-distant future, probably in San Diego. I'm
going to add to your warning to those young troops. Besides being court-martialed and getting a dishonorable discharge and ruining your lives, if you disobey a direct order that is lawful, but you deem it unlawful, and you're in the middle of combat, you could get yourself and others around you killed. And that's the issue I have too. Besides them ruining their lives, they make a stupid call to disobey their commanding officers. You could get your fellow troops killed. So follow the orders. Don't try to self-evaluate and go, oh, I think this one's not lawful because Mark Kelly told you to. Finally, almost out of time, Don, but I know you want to weigh in on this. 2 National Guardsmen shot today in our nation's capital. I'm not going to point the finger and say that left-wing liberal Democrat rhetoric led to these 2 brave men serving our country shot on our homeland in our nation's capital are all connected, but left-wing radical drove a guy to shoot President Trump. Left-wing rhetoric led to getting my friend Charlie Kirk murdered. So yeah, maybe we'll find out this psycho was pushed by left-wing rhetoric. Those 2 guys were just standing there doing what their commander-in-chief told them to do, protect our nation's capital. And up until this point, crime had been way down. Homicides had been way down all summer in D.C., and then some sicko walks up and shoots him in the head. Don, final word to you.
Well, we're in an environment where the left is using inflamed rhetoric that is leading to violence, killing, and murder. My heart goes out to these service members' families here at Thanksgiving. They've given their lives for their country. I hope the perpetrators will be arrested and the death penalty will be administered. But we've got to understand that this left-wing rhetoric must come to a stop. It's not coming from the right, it's coming from the left.
Thank you.
We're seeing deadly consequences of it, and it's got to stop.
Thank you, thank you. If you want to learn more about Don's bid to become the next senator over there in the great state of North Carolina, the website is brownfornc.com. And Don, thank you for your service all those years as a Navy JAG officer and your insight into the story.
Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving, and a blessed Thanksgiving to you and your family, Dan.
Yep, happy Thanksgiving. God bless you, Don.